These cables almost look alike. But if you use this cable, this speaker cable for your guitar, I'll guarantee almost guarantee it'll pick up radio stations and hums and buzzes and all sorts of noise. So make sure you use the right cable. That's also one other thing I'd like to show you about speaker cables is this. Whoops. This cable. This is a new Speak-On cable. That replaces that 1/4-inch plug. So then you don't have that problem of, geez, I wonder what cable I need for what. There was another reason I wanted to show you those small signal cables, that little tiny cables that I'm passing around. That little tiny wire that's in there is what's grounding those cables back to the sound system, keeping it nice and quiet, keeping your hums to a minimum, and also keeping from shocking you. How many of you have done this to your power cord to get rid of hum? Come on, be honest. All right. This is the most dangerous thing you can do. Most gear comes with a 3-pronged power cord for a ground. You want to make sure that you've always got a good ground. People do this in a pinch, and I've done it, we all do it, to get rid of hum. Quick, because ground is trying to be made in more than one place. The easiest way to do it is to lock that off there. By doing that, you're asking that tiny little wire that's carrying around here to save you from being shocked. And you know, I used to think, well, geez, you know, I heard this story that Ace Frehley, the guy from Kiss, the guitar player, he had put on his guitar and went up to sing one night, and his amp was ground lifted like that. And then he touched his lips to that microphone, he made ground. And it killed him. He was laying there dead. Luckily, there were paramedics, and they were able to get the guy back to life. But they wrote a song about it. I mean, it was a big deal at the time. And I used to think, well, that happens to rock and rollers and sweaty guys that play rock and roll. It's not regular folks who would have that problem. And then I read, I think it was 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, a preacher died in Texas. He carried the microphone over to the baptistry and reached down to the water, and he finished up making ground. I don't say this to scare you. I'm telling you, do the right thing. You're asking your talent to trust you on stage, to give them good sound, and you can't be doing this stuff for people. If you want to get rid of a ground problem, buy one of these boxes that has a ground lift in it. They don't cost much. You can throw it in your toolbox and save a lot of time and trouble trying to find that hum or buzz. Now, has everybody got troubles with their sound system? Anybody heard hum or buzz come out of it? Well, it's easy to track this stuff down. You don't have to call a rocket scientist in. You just start turning stuff off till the buzz goes away. Now, you will notice sometimes, even with all the channels off, the hum's still there. That's because the sound system doesn't know how to sing the words. But, okay, the jokes get better as they... because the ground's still being made by the connector. So if you have that problem where you've got a lot of hum and noise, it's easy for you to pull the cables one at a time out of the system until that hum goes away. Then you'll know which cable's bad. The proper way to deal with a bad cable is not to tie it into a knot or tape end or whatever. Take your Leatherman and cut it in half, because you want to save this cable for no one. You don't want this showing back up on your stage. It's like Russian roulette. It's going to wind up somewhere else on the stage for you to find next week. So if you got a bad cable, cut the end of it off. Come in here and buy a cable. Don't be a tightwad. Buy an extra wire or two. I know guys who don't have one single spare wire. And then they wonder why they get through half a gig and, well, you know, when I kick this cable, it makes noise, so I just don't kick the cable anymore. If it's making noise, throw it away. Anything that moves will fail. Murphy. You know, so we got to try and, if any of this stuff that's wearing out on you, Make sure you replace it or carry spares. This is probably the best tool you could have, good pair of headphones. Not a lot of money, because you're going to hurt them. They're going to get torn up, being pulled off your head a lot. They don't have to be the best headphones, just some you trust. So when you plug them in, every week you know, I got what I got. A lot of people like to add things to the sound system. They like to do things like they'll want to add an equalizer. Maybe they'll have trouble with some feedback. Okay, we all know what feedback sounds like, so I promise I won't make any. But everything has a resonant frequency. That's life. Buildings have it. You've all seen the glass where they shake a glass in front of a speaker until it just shatters. It hit its resonance frequency, and once it starts to resonate, it goes nuts. Listen to this stage. Hear the low frequency sound that's the same no matter where I walk? It's the resonant frequency of the stage. So the sound system is going to help make that sound louder. Every noise that's up here will be amplified at that frequency. So if we're musicians, we start thinking about frequency and key. We'll think of it as, oh, well, that's about C, or low E. Audio guys, we do it with frequency in cycles per second. And the basic tool for fighting feedback is a graphic equalizer. All this is that tone control, only there's 31 bands of it instead of 3 or 4. So you think to yourself, well, where do I put this? How do you hook this up? Where's the best place to put it? Should I put it between the microphone and this mixer? No. We want it between the mixer and the rest of the sound system. Now, us people who make mixers, we made it real easy for you. You can easily just run out of the mixer and into the EQ, and then out of the EQ and into this amplifier, and it would be like in line, right? But then you wouldn't be able to hear it through your headphones, would you? You wouldn't be able to know what you were doing with your headphones. So we make insert points on our consoles. And when you insert something, all you're doing is what I just said. Instead of putting it outside the mixer, we're actually running it through the EQ, through the master part of the mixer, and then to the amplifier. The beauty of this is, once it's inserted here, I can hear it through the headphones. So if you're doing EQ in a room you're not in, or if you're doing EQ, say on stage and listening to somebody's monitor, wouldn't it be nice if you knew what that sounded like? So if you use your Qs or PFLs, you should be able to hear what this sounds like. Anyway, that's how you hook it up. They make cables called insert cables. It's easy to plug in, one plug, and you're good to go. Using an EQ is not rocket science. I will tell you, if you have somebody come out and work on your sound system and get it dialed in, and you don't ever move anything, and you don't ever change anything on stage, you should probably never ever touch that again. But all of us wind up moving something. You wind up moving a speaker, or somebody on stage decides to play on the other side of the stage, or you wind up with having to go to a different gig in a different place. So you ought to learn how to use one of these. And frankly speaking, it's pretty easy to use. You can hear what it does very easily by just adjusting a few controls at a time. And you can start to figure out where the sound, what we're adjusting, whether it's something low or something high. That's the easiest thing. Now you say to yourself, well, how am I going to figure out what that resonant frequency in this room is and all that stuff? This is where you use your ear and your sound system to help you out. Let me show you what I mean. I get you you to come up here for a second as a tester for me? Vanna White? No. All I need you to do is tap him on. Just tap him. He's going to try and start the feedback by tapping on the microphone. And we're going to crank up the gain until we hear it starting to go. It's not going to go over. I'll hold it on the edge. But you'll start to hear how we work on feedback. Make sure we've got enough gain to get some feedback. All right, can we tap that? We'll tap it. Hear it? Okay, where's it going? Now look, this equalizer has some indicators on it to let us know. Yeah, keep it coming. Listen, it's happening. Where's it happening? Is it happening here? Did I just get rid of it? No, it's still there. Maybe it's here. There.
What number was that?
That was 200 cycles. Now, as we go higher with gain, as I try to get more volume, I'm going to excite something else in this room to make more noise. Go ahead, keep doing it. It's going to go somewhere else. The feedback will elude us. There. Sorry. So you start to figure out where it might be and dig that hole. And I'm telling you, I'm doing mostly cutting, because again, the original graphic EQs all cut. They were cut only. So this idea of being able to boost and cut, thank you. Thank you. Now I'll have you know we got an amazing amount of gain out of this system right now. I mean, it's really loud. But we're right on the edge, even now, of feeding back. So the higher we run our gain, the closer to feedback we get. Now at some point, all those faders would wind up being pulled down, because it would have found a new place to ring, and the sound would come around and cause feedback again. You've reached the point of maximum gain before feedback. That's a physical thing that nobody can do anything about except go back to the rules I told you about. Move the microphone closer to the performer, move the speaker closer to the listener. Those are the only two things you can do to fix that problem. Less microphones on equals less feedback problems. Same deal. But that's how hard it is to learn how to adjust an equalizer. I mean, it's just opening up your microphones, cranking up the gain, and keep your hand on that master fader so it doesn't go over like where it was there, just so we can pull it down. And you can keep it right on the edge and play around with it. If you have somebody who's come in and set one for you, use some of this tape. You get some of this marking tape and mark the EQ up to where it was. So at least you can get it back if you're going to mess around and try and do this. This is not a tone control though. These are tone controls. That's for fixing the room. So if you come in and you see somebody with a big happy smiley face made out of the EQ, you've all seen that. I know you have. If you've driven a rental car, that's the way everybody's rental car EQ is always set. It's because of the way we hear. We don't like hearing vocals. Our ears are tuned to hear vocals best. We hear babies crying, people hollering for help. That was, even as cavemen, that's how our ears were developed. So to make it happy for us, to give us the best sound, we always boost the low end, and of course we boost the high end. That isn't right in what we're trying to do here. We want a flat sound system. Then you can boost the highs and lows of each input as you need to. But that way you're not screwing up your whole room EQ to do this. But you understand now that this EQ is for the whole sound system, right? Now, if I move that speaker, it's going to affect the way that EQ works. If I move the microphone, it's going to affect where that EQ works. It may need to be readjusted. So know that when you're messing with these things, that's what you're up against.